All right, I know there's been a lot of changes over the past couple of years here at Full-Time Filmmaker, and I'm sorry for the chaos, but I am here to deliver yet even more changes. I'll expound later on in this video, but in short, I am officially taking back ownership of this channel and the brand and business of Full-Time Filmmaker. As many of you know, over the past few months, Landon has shifted much of Full-Time Filmmaker's focus into building a new software platform to host a course on and to add some new features. Now, his vision for this new direction was very ambitious, but as many of you know, building and maintaining software is very expensive. And because he originally bought the business from me on a revenue-based financing plan, meaning he would pay for it over time, it quickly became financially impossible to sustain both this new software and those payments to buy the business. So ultimately, the business has defaulted back to me, and because it doesn't make financial sense for me to continue maintaining that new software, Full-Time Filmmaker is returning to being hosted on Kajabi, just as it was a few months ago. All customers who signed up on that new platform will be migrated over to Kajabi, and the plan is to eventually shut down that new software. And as for the future of Full-Time Filmmaker, it will return to focusing its time and resources on developing educational content. And yes, I personally will be returning to run Full-Time Filmmaker, and I will start updating and adding new content to it like I was doing before I left. Now, this transition comes with deep gratitude to Landon. I appreciate all he did to carry the torch during the last couple of years, but he will no longer be involved on the channel or with the brand. We have parted ways amicably. I wish him success in his next venture, and you can go follow him on his channels to see what he's up to next. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have questions, and feel free to ask those in the comments below, but I think I'll be able to answer a lot of those questions by explaining the full history of Full-Time Filmmaker all the way from the beginning, why I started it, some of the challenges I faced while running it that ultimately led me to want to sell it to Landon, what I learned over the past couple years of being away, and why I am now coming back. So here is now the long version. Why did I start Full-Time Filmmaker? Back in 2013, I landed my first full-time job in video production at Devon Supertramp, and I owe much of my success and all the things I learned up front from Devon Graham. He was an amazing mentor, taught me the ropes, and about 2 years into working for him, our drone pilot, Chris Newman, who at the time was running an online course teaching people how to fly drones, said, "Hey, you guys should really start an online course teaching people how to do video." And I was really excited about that idea, and we actually started building a course at Devon Supertramp, but after a month or two, Devon didn't want to go in that direction. So that was one of the catalysts that propelled me out of Devon Supertramp and starting to work on my own. I quit, started my own production company, and under the tutelage and mentorship of Chris Newman now, who knew all the ropes of how to run an online course. Again, I couldn't have done it without Chris Newman and the great mentor he was. But as soon as I quit Devon Supertramp, within a month, I started building this online course to teach people how to go full-time in video production or filmmaking. Now, the why behind that decision, I like video production, I like the creative process, but to me, it's just the medium through which I can do things I really love, which is entrepreneurship, business building, education. These are my real passions. And at Devon Supertramp, I wasn't fulfilled just shooting and editing videos. I wanted to be on the ground floor of growing a business, of finding problems in the marketplace and building solutions to solve those problems. And the problem I saw in front of me, having worked at Devon Supertramp, was that there was a lot of people that wanted to learn video production that didn't want to go spend 4 years and hundreds of thousands of dollars at a film school, weren't getting enough of the education they desired out of just watching free YouTube videos. And so I wanted to fill a gap. I wanted to create something to solve that problem, something I wish would have existed when I first started that would allow others to shorten their learning curve and go full-time in half the time that it took me. And I knew the problem existed because I was getting hit up on my Instagram every day. Hey, how do you do this coloring? How do you do these movements? How do you get these types of shots? People were asking me questions, so I knew there was a need, a problem. And so I spent the next 9 months of my life basically working for free, eating through my savings, building out the first version of Full-Time Filmmaker, which was about 50 videos. And during those 9 months, taking just enough video gigs to pay the bills and get by, and almost giving up probably a dozen times because of imposter syndrome, because who the heck am I to teach people how to do video production? I'd only been doing it for a few years, but the problem is there wasn't very many people taking the time out of their craft to educate others on how to do it. So I pushed through some of that imposter syndrome and went ahead and built it. And in April 2016, I launched it having $500 in my bank account. I had poured that last year. I was freshly married. My wife was very supportive to allow me to do that, to go out on the limb, to put a full year of work into something that we didn't know if it would make any money. But that first week that I launched Full-Time Filmmaker, I made more money that first week in those initial sales than I had in any previous year of work anywhere. And so I realized just after 1 week of launching Full-Time Filmmaker that this is a need in the marketplace. There are people who want and need this education. And so I shifted away from doing mostly client-based videos, which at the time was hard because I had been branched off of Devin for almost a year now, and my own production company was starting to take off. I was making 5 figures a month just in my video production business, but then this Full-Time Filmmaker project started taking off, and I kind of had to let some of the projects go, start saying no to some of the clients so that I could focus on what was really a bigger passion for me in education. And by 2017, I started to discover something that I did not fully anticipate. And that is that we started to build a community. The private Facebook group of Full-Time Filmmakers started to become this little family, this support group of aspiring videographers and filmmakers who are trying to make it as a career. And I got to watch from the ground level hundreds, now thousands of them go from essentially zero or the very beginning stages to now running their own full-blown video production companies and making great money, way more money than they were making in their previous jobs. And so it was really cool for me to see this community and support group start to build itself. But those first couple of years was just me. It was me and contracting some friends here and there, and it was starting to take a toll on me. I was starting to realize that this isn't going to be very sustainable, me putting in 60, 70, sometimes 80-hour weeks. In that first year, I would go to bed with my wife, and then when she was asleep at 11 or 12 p.m., I'd go back to work because my brain wouldn't shut off, and I would edit from 11 to 4 in the morning until I could get some stuff done and then go back to bed and then wake up at 9 the next morning and start over. There was literally 15-hour days, but the problem is that came at a cost. I was neglecting some of those family relationships. I was neglecting my mental and physical and spiritual health. It was starting to take a toll on me. So in 2018, I started to build a team. Jake Weisler was my first hire, and he immediately took off so much of that burden to allow me to, one, start having a life again, but also two, start focusing on some higher value activities to be able to build the business because I wasn't doing absolutely everything in it. So Jake quickly became my right-hand guy and even started developing some of the course content himself since weddings was more of his forte. So he built out Wedding Video Pro, and Jake was such a valuable addition to the team that I realized we got to keep growing the team. We got to find more people like him that can add value to this operation. So in late 2018 and early 2019 is when I discovered Landon By The Way. And I immediately saw that talent in him and was so excited to bring him on and have him start developing some content for us. And he built out the Seamless Video Pro section and quickly became a face of the brand, with me, Jake, and Landon being the 3 faces of Full-Time Filmmaker. And of course, we had a lot of other great employees that were doing the behind the scenes, behind the camera work, and every once in a while putting some of them in front of the camera. But it was mostly me, Jake, and Landon that people came to know as Full-Time Filmmaker. And then in 2020, it was the biggest year financially for the business, and it was when the lockdowns were happening with COVID. Everyone was stuck inside. People were shifting in their career paths. Everyone was going online to start learning because they couldn't go outside to do anything, and the course sales just exploded. And so we kept building out the team, kept hiring. I think we were up to 10 employees at this time. This is also when we built an office space so that people had a physical space to go work and shoot in. But with that growing of the team and the stresses of trying to make sure everyone's getting paid and everyone's happy, 2021, I started to get majorly burnt out. I had been going 110 miles an hour for 5 straight years, and it was starting to take a toll on me. And it wasn't just the workload of running the business and managing employees. It was also the environment of social media, of being a public face, of being open to constant criticism, scrutiny, negativity that exists in this space of social media. It's a nasty place. It can be. Anyway, point is I was burnt out of social media, burnt out of managing employees. I felt like a slave to my own business, and I'd lost the passion and forgotten the reason why I started it in the first place. When I first started, I really loved creating videos, but by 2021, 5 years into this, I was hardly creating. I was mostly managing and giving feedback to other people creating. By the time I finished training and giving feedback to this guy and his project, I had to do it to this guy and his project, and would just go from one employee to the next, and there was hardly any time for me to be creative. Now, some people like that. Some people want to just grow out a big business and be a business manager, but I really liked being in the business and doing part of the art as well, and I was not able to do that as much as I wanted to. I wanted so badly to develop all these people in my business and make sure they were happy and fulfilled in their work, and I couldn't do it all. There wasn't enough time in the day to please everybody and be able to be creative myself. And so guys like Landon, that creative, ambitious man, he was sick of having me as a boss. He didn't want to have a boss, period. He wanted to go out and start his own thing, and I completely understood it because that's how I felt at Devon Supertramp. At a certain point, I just had ambitions to do more and do different things. So I encouraged Landon to spread his wings and go start his own business, and so he did. And we'll circle back to Landon in a little bit. But he went off, started his own business, and then in 2022, this is when I really started stepping back. I had Landon, who had just left. Then my manager, Carter, at the time, had some family health issues, and he couldn't come to work for a couple of months, so my managing duties and burden doubled. Then my wife gave birth to our third child, and that third child is complete chaos. Anyone who has 3 kids knows. So suddenly I was needed much more at home, and all of these things collided in 2022, and I couldn't do it anymore. I needed to take a step back, downscale. I had been go, scale. At this time, we were up to maybe 12 employees, and it was all just too much. And I realized I don't want this to be bigger. If anyone's read the book E-Myth, it talks about 3 stages of a business: the infancy, the adolescence, and maturity. I was currently in the adolescent stage, going through a lot of growing pains, and I was at a critical point where I had to decide if I was going to go on to the maturity stage of a business and keep scaling it to dozens and maybe hundreds of employees, or if I was going to just stay where I was, or if I was going to shrink back down to a smaller operation. I didn't like where I was currently at, and so I decided to scale back down. I talked to each of those employees one by one and said, it's time for you to spread your wings. Let's create a plan over the next few months to get you situated and working elsewhere or building your own business. And by the way, all of them are out doing amazing things now, and it's been really cool seeing Full-Time Filmmaker be a good stepping stone, but seeing them progress and grow on to much bigger and better things. So the team started to dissolve away, and it was mostly me being the creative to go back to doing more of what I loved, and Carter as my business manager, and then Britton, who was my customer service rep. And with this downsized team, I was able to do more of what I loved, more creative things in the business, but I was also able to spend more time at home and start getting more rebalanced and focused on things that mattered more to me in my life than just work. But it only took about a year of me doing it in this downsized mode that I just lost all passion for what I was doing. I had completely forgotten the reasons why I started in the first place, and I was just desperate to do anything, something different. I mean, you got to understand, at this point, I had created or been a part of creating over 1,000 videos over that 8-year span, and just doing the same thing over and over again. It got absolutely exhausting, and I just wanted a change of scenery, wanted to do something different. And so I was stuck in this dilemma because I didn't want Full-Time Filmmaker to die. I believed in the product it was and knew how much good it was doing. I was getting weekly messages from people saying, this has changed my life. It's allowed me to do something I actually love and make much better money doing it. And so I wanted that to continue. I wanted it to continue adding value to people's lives and being that life-changing resource. But I wasn't willing to be the one to keep pouring in the energy, to keep it updated and keep advertising it and keep being a face and being charismatic on camera. When I'm an introvert, I hate being on camera. The fact that I'm in front of you right now, it pains me. I don't like doing it. But at a certain point, it just drained me, and I needed to step away. So I was at a crossroad. Do I let it die, or do I try and get somebody in here to keep running it? And I looked around thinking, who is going to take over a business that is mostly my face and my style of teaching and is built around me? And really the only two people that came to mind was Jake and Landon, the other two faces of Full-Time Filmmaker over the years. Now, at this point, Jake had already been running with Runaway Vows, building out his own wedding course and channel, and he was doing great. And so it wasn't really a good fit for me to be like, hey, come over and take this back over. He was doing awesome. Landon was also doing awesome, building out and running Studio, his own video production company. And so I really didn't think there was a fit. But in the summer of 2023, Landon invited me to be on his podcast. And at the end of that conversation I had with him, we just got chatting to kind of gauge where each other were at. And we just realized that we were in a place where he was kind of looking for something bigger and different to do. I was in a position where I was trying to get somebody else to run the business. And so it just seemed like a good fit and a good time to hand this off, me hoping, hey, somebody who has energy and a passion for this, take it and do with it what I don't have the energy to do with it right now. And so at the end of 2023, about 2 years ago, Landon and I officially agreed that he would take over the business. But because he didn't have the capital to buy it, we worked out a revenue-based financing deal for him to pay for it over time. And if at any point he couldn't keep up the payments to pay off the business in full, then the business would come back to me and I would continue running it. So that's the last I was on the channel. It was about 2 years ago. And those of you who are still here know what's happened next. Landon has been running the channel. And while he's been running the channel and the business, I got a much needed break. I spent a couple of months focusing on family, being at home. I even started a faith-based YouTube channel called True Millennial. I just started doing things that I was passionate about, doing different things that I'd wanted to do for years that I couldn't do because I was dedicating every breath and every moment of my time to building Full-Time Filmmaker. And these 2 years of being away from it has been very instructive for me. I've learned a lot about myself, about this business. I've learned a lot about life in general. I got a lot of clarity over those 2 years that was much needed for me. And the first thing I learned probably 3-4 months into that break is I missed work. I realized that man needs work. Work gives us purpose. I realized that I looked at running a business and running Full-Time Filmmaker the wrong way. It was work, neglect everything else so that you can make as much money as you can to retire early so that you don't have to work ever again. And I pretty much accomplished that. And what I discovered is there isn't any pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. It turns out that the joy isn't in making it to the finish line. The joy is the journey. The joy is being in the work and doing it every day and having purpose and providing service to other people. And so a few months of having that break from Full-Time Filmmaker, I started getting depressed. Now there was tons of fulfillment involved in doing a faith-based podcast and spending more time at home and being present with the family, but I felt like I was neglecting certain talents that God had given me. I wasn't being a good steward over those talents in developing them and sharing them with others. And here I've spent a decade developing all these skills and knowledge in this filmmaking and videography industry, and I just walk away and I'm just going to stop sharing what I know. It felt wrong. So 2025 rolls around and I'm starting to get the itch. I'm starting to feel like I need to do something. I need to start a business. I need to provide employment opportunities. I thought about starting a new YouTube channel because I didn't own Full-Time Filmmaker anymore. Thought maybe I'll just start posting on my own channel. I was still buying cameras and learning about them, and then I learn and then I'd want to share it, but I didn't know who to share it with because I didn't have a platform to do it anymore. And so I wouldn't, and then I'd feel like, I've learned so much this past month. I need to share it with somebody. So I started brainstorming, trying to figure out, okay, what do I do next? I got to do something. I got to get back to work. So as I was brainstorming what business I was going to start next, that's when Landon, in the spring of this year, made the shift to start focusing Full-Time Filmmakers' resources into developing a new software to host the course on. But again, because building software is expensive, it was no longer financially viable to sustain both this new software and the revenue-based financing payments to me. And so the business business has defaulted back into my hands. So that's why I took the business back, is because it defaulted back to me, but also because I wanted to, again, provide value to the filmmaking industry at large and to my community of full-time filmmaker members. So what's next for full-time filmmaker then? I don't know for certain, but here's a few things I do know for certain. Number one is I'm going to go through and update parts of the course that are more gear and software specific that need to be updated according to the latest tech. I'll also be adding some new workshops to the course. And I've also just added a new section called Case Studies, where I'll be interviewing successful full-time filmmaker members and deep dive into their business practices so you can learn not only how I run my business, but start learning from the successes and mistakes of other video professionals as well. And just as I was doing before, I'll be posting shorter versions of all that content here for free on YouTube. And I'm also going to be very active in the private Facebook group. I already have started interacting a lot more and again starting to find that purpose and fulfillment of adding value to people's lives daily. So those are a few of the plans I have for full-time filmmaker moving forward, but I'll be doing all of that at a much healthier, slower pace than I was before, so as not to risk burning out again. So be patient. We'll be doing this stuff little by little, but hopefully it'll help those of you who are struggling move into a full-time space, and those of you who are full-time but are trying to scale, hopefully we can help you get to new heights. All right, that's all I got. Good to be back. Now for the 7 of you who stuck around to the end of this video, you are nuts, but I love you, and I guess I'll be seeing you around.